Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to a special edition here on Thursday night. It is, of course, trekking across the universe, and what a glorious time it is in the world of Star Trek right now. I want to welcome everyone who's joining me tonight. We have the conference room. Maybe we should switch to the ready room, but nevertheless, we have everyone on with us. I want to welcome Michael Day joining us right now. Captain Richard over to my left. Good evening. Of course, we have Admiral Greg, who probably is the only one that's dressed appropriately. He has the collar. The rest of us do not. And Aaron, how you doing, young man? How is living ahead of everyone else?
It's great. I got to see the show before you did. It was brilliant.
That is right, by quite a bit. Well, folks, it is absolutely awesome. We're going to get to it. I do want to tell everyone that there are going to be some announcements moving forward on the NDB Media Network. We have a lot of stuff that has happened over the last week. It is the tease. I know Michael is already like, dude, shut up, don't say anything. Well, I'm going to tease a major announcement moving forward.
I'm gonna move. I'm muting him. Yeah.
And there it is. He's muting me. So we actually have quite a few people already joining us. I want to welcome, of course, Elizabeth in the chat room. Everyone else, let us know who you are and where you hail from. Thank you. Don't forget to visit ndbmedia.net for everything going on in the network. On Saturday, don't forget to join us for Sports Talk with the Guys at 6 a.m. Pacific time. I don't know, Elizabeth. I don't know. You'll have to ask these fine gentlemen if they want to go ahead and do that. Richard is smiling. So he may... there's Greg. Oh, it's begun already. So, Elizabeth...
It doesn't take much for me to, get out of my clothes.
I'm just reading Elizabeth.
In these temps.
I'm reading Elizabeth's comment and just thinking that's the last thing she wants to see is us doing a striptease.
Yeah. There's no FCC involved here, gentlemen, but if we were to do that, we would be banned off every network. So it is really good. So on Sunday...
The FCC would still hunt us down.
Yeah, that's true. They really would. I want to remind everyone else that Better Call Saul Rewatch continues on Sunday. It's on at 3 p.m. Pacific time. And we actually have a few guests already booked. Do we not, Michael? Upcoming?
Yes.
Who are the next two guests?
Frank Parker from Crossroads Gemini Project will be Monday night at 9:00 p.m. Eastern, 6 Pacific time. And I have another guest, but I'm waiting on the total bio. But he's an artist and an entrepreneur from... I told you where he's from. Now I'm forgetting. Isn't that awful?
Yeah, I don't even remember.
It's just one of those days. But let me give me a second and I can tell you. No, I didn't put it on here. But anyway, he's yes, I did. He is from Hungary.
Oh, so, that's right.
That should be interesting. He does artwork and he puts it on like a couple of things, but what caught my eye was, since I just bought a new cell phone, he puts artwork on cell phone cases.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
So we'll see how that all goes, but that will be on Saturday. Whoops. The 13th of August, which is the Sunday, at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 a.m. Pacific time.
All right. So we already have that scheduled. Folks, we're going to have a minors also, might as well. We already have some announcements, some changes in our schedule. I believe Ahsoka will be taking over on Thursday night here on the network. We're going to be reviewing Ahsoka, and that will be at about the same time. We'll see. It might be early, it might be later. I don't know, but it's going to be at 6 p.m. Pacific time starting. Oh, my goodness. When is Ahsoka premiere? Is it
week and a half?
Oh, it's on August 16th, I believe, right? No,
it's the next week.
Yeah, Ahsoka premieres on August 23rd.
23rd. Our first show is the 24th. Yes.
And we'll be in the 24th. And then for Lower Decks, the debut is September 7th. We're negotiating with all the hosts because we may have some specials from international that will be joining us.
Unless we had, I thought we had decided now it's 9 p.m. Saturday evening Eastern time, 6 p.m. Pacific time, Saturday evening.
So there it is. Decision's been made.
Decision's been made. Yes.
Everyone will be able to join us, and we're going to go ahead and move forward. So, gentlemen, if there are no other announcements for now, we're going to get to it. We have 2 episodes. The first one is Under the Cloak of War. It is episode 8 for Strange New Worlds. It was on last week because they changed the schedule on us due to Comic-Con. It was written by Davey Perez and directed by Jeff W. Bird. And before we get to anything else, I think the line that will best sum up this episode is incoming transport, incoming transport, incoming transport. It's not a mantra. It's what happens. And it reminds many of us who do not know what it is like. And this story moves in ways that many of us will not understand, but we can see and learn for ourselves. But there is a lot that happened in this episode of 49 minutes. And before we go any further, as we begin our first thoughts, for me, it's incoming transport. Greg, what are some of your thoughts as we get going? Then we'll go Richard, Aaron, and Michael.
So this is one of the things that Star Trek does best, is it puts these human conditions into the science fiction setting. We have the near the end of the Klingon War on the moon of Chagall. We go back and forth from the present and the scars from those experiences for Dr. M'Benga and Nurse Chapel. And it was deep, it was personal. It was a tough one to rewatch critically.
Yes.
Yes, they did a few of the tropes, but as usual, they put their own spin on them. It was there was even an unpredictable moment near the end of this one, and it was probably the best of the season.
Before I go to Richard, Elizabeth says that literally gives me shivers every time I hear those words. And she says it was raw and real. Before I go any further, I do want to thank Elizabeth as being, I don't believe she is still in active service, but I thank you for your service, Elizabeth. And I can only imagine what this episode meant to you. And I'm glad that you're here on with us. Richard, your thoughts as we begin.
Well, my thoughts are it was good to see Clint Howard in another Star Trek universe, and he's been part of Star Trek since the beginning.
Yeah.
I mean, probably in one of the worst dubbed TV shows ever done, but still, he did play Baylock in the Carbine Maneuver. If I'm not mistaken, that was the title of the episode, as far as I know.
Yeah,
it was like one of the first half dozen or so produced, too.
Yeah. So I mean, it was interesting. I mean, he's been around Star Trek for a while, and this time he's in with no makeup or no dubbing, so we actually got to see him act like an actor, and it was good to see him. I'm just saying, hey, it's always good to see this man perform. I know that he's a character actor, and he's also the brother of Ron Howard, who is a director and actor as well. But the whole family is acting. I mean, not just the two brothers, but his father and every. But anyway, it was good to see him, and this beginning was really something to watch. And some of the sacrifices that had to be made just in the beginning of this episode, and all the bombardments coming on, and it was an interesting episode. So I'm just going to leave it at that. Before we go any further, but there were a lot of things going on in here that we will get to eventually.
Yes, Aaron, your thoughts.
I'm pretty similar to Greg. I thought it was a great episode, probably one of the best, if not the best of this season. It did what Star Trek does best, which sort of presents you with an issue and then leaves you thinking about it afterwards. It was certainly very heavy, from the previous episode, which was quite a surprise. And yeah, when it ended, I was like, that can't end there. Like, this is what? And yeah, we had to go watch like a comedy like show, like sitcom afterwards, because it was just like, I can't go to bed with this hovering over me. So yeah, I thought it was great. It delved into something that hasn't been presented in this way in this sort of era of Star Trek. So yeah, I think this was a good one.
And I appreciate that, Aaron. Let me add a caveat to that. Some of your stuff that you've produced, and you can let everyone know where they can find the stuff that you've done. There was a little bit of, there's some symmetry there with some of the stuff that you've done. I believe it was the attack on Starbase One or the fall of Starbase One. Please.
Yeah, fall.
Yeah, and I'm sorry for that, but yes, let everyone know, folks. If you don't know who this young man is, you've got to check out his stuff. And I'm sorry, you need to check out their production. Forgive me. Yes.
Yeah. So yeah, if you want to check out our fan films, which is These Are the Voyagers, so you can look it up at Voyagers Fan Film. Yeah. We've got like Roger said, there's an episode that we did, a short film that we did, which sort of deals with, I guess, a war experience called The Fall of Starbase One. And yeah, the benefit of doing short films is that heavy things and bad things can happen to your characters, and you don't have to worry about them later on. So yeah.
Yeah, it's still very well done. I was fortunate. That was one of the first ones. And when I found out through Michael that we were going to have Aaron on with us, I was like, dude, I've seen that episode. And I was looking forward to it. But be that as it way, Michael, your thoughts as we begin. And then, gentlemen, I think we're going to have it round. Sorry, Michael. I think we're going to have a round table. We're going to get to it. And we're going to take it however you gentlemen would like. We don't have to go beat by beat. So I'm going to leave it open to everyone. Michael, your thoughts as we start out this episode, please.
My thoughts are a lot like yours, Roger. I mean, every time I heard the transporter thing, I just went, oh my goodness. But what it reminded me, but honestly, this was more stressful, is in the TV series MASH, when they had the helicopters come in. I felt it was like the same thing, except helicopters versus the transporter. And I mean, because they all went crazy when the helicopters came in, and they all went crazy when the transporter was activating. So I mean, that's what got me. And it was like, whoa. I mean, they, as you know, someone else said, you know, they turned it into sci-fi. I think Greg did. They turned it sci-fi-ish.
Definitely.
And I think they just made it more intense.
Yeah, this could easily have been a later season episode of MASH. Easily.
Yeah, you know, my daughter was here watching both episodes with me, and one of my first thoughts was, I uttered it, MASH. I really did say that out loud because it did have that feeling, and it was eerie. I guess jumping ahead a little bit, there was that scene where I believe it was ensign or lieutenant, I don't know, but his name was Alvarado. He was lying on the pad, and they're going to try to get, and then here it is, incoming transport. And I can't say that I yelled at the screen, but I was, move them, you got to move them. And I rarely ever do that when I watch something. I think the last time I yelled out to the screen was in Revenge of the Sith, when I yelled out to Anakin, "You blankety coward." And you guys know which scene I'm talking about, you know, in the throne room. I actually yelled it out in the theater, but that's neither here nor there. This was a very intense episode, and it begins as a teaser. The Klingon ambassador beams aboard. I believe his name was Raal, or that was the family name. I may need a little bit of help on that, gentlemen. But
I got it written down here with pronunciation. General Dakra, son of Raul.
Oh, son of Raul. So Dakra. Okay. So maybe it was Dothraki. Oh, no, sorry. That was a whole different other program.
Yeah!
Sorry. I didn't mean that. So he beams aboard, and right away in the transporter room, you realize that there are people that not only are unhappy to see him, but flat out hate what he represents,
Yeah.
if not hates him. Did you gentlemen catch that? It was clear. Number one was all professional. Pike was at his diplomatic best, but the transporter chief, La'an, and I believe there might have been one other person. There were daggers, huh, Aaron? They were not happy.
Yeah, it was very tense, and and when Pike was asking everybody just to, cool it, they couldn't, because it was so intense for them, that whole experience. So
you can even tell that Pike was the way it was performed. Pike was supposed to have been slightly ruffled by it, but still making an effort. We have to remember the Enterprise was not around. They were off
they were
doing
out
other
on
things.
assignment or something.
Yeah, to try to keep them in the back pocket.
Mm-hmm.
But they made a huge point that a lot of these, a lot of the crew was in the Klingon world.
Yeah, we learned Ortega's, obviously, Mbenga, Chapel, and everyone else that was around there. The ambassador immediately, I guess, not necessarily breaks a little bit of protocol, but he says, "Captain, may I have a tour of the ship?" I got the impression that he wanted to have a conversation with him. Why was that? Because I guess he was only getting a feel for everyone. Or why do you think that was? Did he just want to check out the newest ship in the Federation fleet? What was it?
I feel like it came across a little bit like he's had to assimilate into like human culture, and so breaking like what we'd consider his traditional like attitudes and stance is his way of coping. I feel like that kind of comes up because ultimately we find out that he's a bit of a liar. So yeah, he's had to make compromises and be a sort of submissive to the Federation in order to stay alive, basically. So yeah.
That's interesting. Go ahead, Richard.
I was gonna say I got the idea. I at first I just thought he was just trying to get the inside scope of how these ships are compared to the Klingon Empire. But now that what I've heard so far, like now it's like there are things he has to do, because right now you're trying to figure out why wasn't he tried for war crimes. So this may be he knows he has to come along as this diplomat to stay from, well, I guess in our era, getting hung. I don't know if, so I mean, he knows that he's going to have people that are not going to like him. I mean, I guess in a way it's like having Hitler as a diplomat. If he would, like, well, we'd hang you, but that's a little extreme, but still, it seems like they both did bad things, and now the Klingon is just trying to stay alive and make sure, and he knows he's going to have distractors, and he just plays it as cool as he can. I don't know if when he's alone, that he does Klingon things to vent his anger, but he's still a Klingon, so I mean, he's probably not liking his role as being this pacifist diplomat. I mean, he is a Klingon after all, and he does have his own war issues.
It's interesting because as he comes aboard the bridge, Ortegas is doing what many of us have done at work. We're talking about someone, and it's not that we've been caught. We've been caught doing that. I felt like Ortegas. I've been there, and she doesn't believe him. She doesn't see him. She mentions all the stuff that he's done. Nyota said, but he did this treaty, the free trade did this. And she's like, oh yeah? But he did this, and this. And when Ortegas mentions that right before the ambassador walks, gentlemen, help me out. I had shades of the defector right there. Because remember, in the defector, Admiral Alagir Jirok, he was known as the butcher of whatever, but yet on his planet, he was called the conqueror of whatever. And when he's talking to Picard, what does he say? He uses the words. He said, I am this and I'm that. Maybe I am neither. And I thought about that when they were using those things. And I guess it actually does come into play a little bit later. I don't know. You're nodding there, Aaron.
Yeah, I think I feel like what was evident in this episode is that Starfleet or the Federation, whatever, are using this guy. They're using him to their advantage, and it's like pushing that narrative. And then he's got this Klingon version of events from people that were actually there and actually had, like, I guess, lived experiences. And the other characters are just being fed what the Federation and Starfleet has told them, and in the same way that Pike's like, we all have to just cool it, and then he'll go and we can go back to normal. Like, it's you're being asked to lie, basically, and for the betterment of the Federation. It's political, really.
Yeah, it is political. Because right after Ortegas goes on her screed, they all walk up and Ortegas is caught. And he gets it like, yeah, I know. All right, fine, whatever. May we continue on a tour? Well, actually, he comments on the ship because he sees the wide view screen. He says, hey, my Klingon brethren, they will never admit, but your ships are better. And I guess the big viewport was impressive. Size does matter, even to Klingons. But then you'll notice. No, go ahead. What? I'm sorry. What?
Twice as much.
Right. Yes. As much. And then you'll notice that they head down to, I guess, their version of 10 Forward. I don't know what it's called. You guys will have to help me out on that, in their bar. And Spock, and it was Spock and Yoda, right? They were working. Oh, no. It was Spock and, what is her name?
Mitchell.
Yes, Mitchell. I was going to say Leslie, but you're right, Mitchell. And they're working on the drink, and they fail. It comes out cold. They're like, wow, we can still work on this. The doors open up. He's like, yeah, I don't think we have more time. So, and they were trying to serve him Ractigino. And it was kind of cool. Spock was making a genuine effort. The ever diplomat. We're seeing the future Spock right now, that he's trying to reach across the aisles. Because look, Star Trek VI, The Undiscovered Country. Who makes the overtures on the advice of his father? Spock. And what is the first thing? Spock welcomes him, trying to make Ractigino. And how... Okay. When they had the Ractigino show up like the replicator, I was like, oh, come on. This is 100 years too early. But,
yes, but did you notice the sound effect?
Yeah.
They used the classic TOS sound effect, even though they had, like a Deep Space Nine style replicator on the countertop.
Yes. Yeah.
Can I just ask a question, though? Like, in the original series, when they have their food synthesizers and it's like comes out of a slot, we don't actually see what happens behind the slot, do we?
No.
I don't think we ever did.
You'd hear that little music.
Yeah.
And a light would, sometimes they had a light underneath, and then basically somebody behind the scenes would put something there and open the door.
So what I'm saying is, it's entirely possible that the food replicates in and the slot just opens and you grab it. So,
well, that's what I believe we were supposed to think happened.
Yeah. So,
but then in one of the movies, they had an actual kitchen and they were making stuff.
Yeah, the very same Star Trek VI, The Undiscovered Country. Yes.
Yes.
So
they have a kitchen in the original series, because they mention it on the com in one of the episodes. Yeah.
Oh, okay, very good.
When Charlie X.
Yeah.
And they're real turkeys now.
Yeah.
Yes.
So, but who knows? I mean, but they might have both. So.
I think they were still working on it, because I've also seen the fan tech stuff where they actually used like a mini turbo lift dumb waiter style to get food to all the food slots. And...
Well, they end up serving it to them. They do it either DS9 style or as Aaron made clear, we don't know. We don't know. We never saw the inside, so that's pretty cool. I'm all right with that. He reaches for the cup like most males. Forgive me, I'm chauvinist. What did he do? Reach for the cup and he gets burned, and he gets burned big time. And hey, it happens. I don't know if it was too trusting, what the deeper meaning was behind that, but it was significant. And he's like, he's like, ooh. And then we get the cut to the intro, and then we have Act 1. So at the teaser, what do you think? The tone was set, gentlemen? Tell me. I thought we learned quite a bit of the environment because Mbenga couldn't make eye contact with him. Or as a matter of fact, no, I apologize.
Oh yeah, they went to sickbay before the opening credits. Yeah.
Yeah.
They very unsettled. So, we had the idea from what to expect in this episode with learning what happened in their past, but you knew immediately that this was going to be about bias and post-traumatic stress and all of that.
Yeah, because it ends with him having a panic attack or something like that, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
I just wonder, I really didn't know how deep it was going to go just from the beginning. I just said, oh, they just don't like him. But I had no idea what they would be showing us later in the episode.
Yeah. Well, we saw it right away. Right after the title credits card, we get right into it, and we realize we're visiting the moon of Jakar. And Chapel is on a shuttle. And I guess I envisioned it to the helicopters coming in Vietnam. It was something like that, where they say remove the blast shield. Oh, that was crazy. And she says, okay, where's the landing pad? And the guy's like, there ain't no landing pad, sweetheart. You're going in transport, and it's going in fast.
So we got to look at a couple of never before scenes here. So this shuttle with the nacelles on top configuration is new. And the very opening scene, we're in orbit around Prospero. We get a look at a very sleek-looking hull of a ship called the Kelsey May. So that was both of those moments are really exciting for me.
I think it's great that we're delving into a piece of Star Trek history lore that we haven't really seen the actual events of. I suppose it's like in Discovery Season 1, they set it up and then jump forward, and we don't really have anything to do much with the actual battles of the Klingon War.
Right.
So I think it was great to go into that a little bit because, yeah, it's set up to be a big thing.
Definitely.
As a matter of fact, Captain Richard, Greg, and Admiral Day, remember early on when we were talking about this in Strange New Worlds, where we were getting history already? We were talking about this, Greg. I remember you and I were having this conversation maybe in the second or third episode. It's like, wait a minute. We're seeing backstory, a setup to something, and there is a bit of a payoff here. I think it was 3 episodes ago where we see Protocol 12, and now it's touched upon later on in the episode. We learn why it was going to be used, but it was good, the setup this season. And
I think it also established the relationship between Chapel and Mbenga a lot better because you now understand why these people are together and why they trust each other and why they confide in each other.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, the shared experience. Yeah. We knew they shared something.
Yeah. And right away
established it, and then now we get to see what.
Yeah, and she meets him right away. They beam down. I'm sorry, not they. She beams down to the planet, and right away, and correct me if I'm wrong, meets Clint Howard as CMO Dr. Martinez. I believe that was his name. And he's talking about Joseph. Well, I think he only mentioned him once or twice. There's
a
Joseph
lot
over
around there.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we saw his fingers or something. He was just like lying around, and he says, "Hey, by the way, you're head nurse." But I just arrived. He goes, "It cost me I can't get a replacement, so I had to trade for you. It cost me a case of Romulan ale." So, folks, Nurse Chapel, unfortunately, I know of a baseball trade in the minor leagues that it meant that a player was traded for a bag of baseballs. Nurse Chapel was traded for a case of Romulan ale. I don't know, man. That's kind of messed up. Richard, you've been a bit quiet, man.
Well, Romulan ale seems to be always be the thing you trade for. It's just a commodity that you can't come across. It's illegal at this point in time, so you really can't. You're not supposed to have it.
Yeah.
But still, a person being traded for a commodity it's really something. But what else can you do? I mean, he's short and he needs people, so he has to grease the wheels. No
You're
matter
right.
what, no matter what no matter what economy model you are going to use, you're still going to have to grease wheels. There is no economic system out there where greasing the wheels is not going to happen. I mean, it's just part of any economic system, and so he greased the wheels, got his nurse, and this, unfortunately for her, she ends up in the middle of this war zone, and we'll see how it works out.
Yeah, and the baptism by fire is fast because Dr. Martinez is telling her, look, this tent city, you're in Echo 25. That's the way it's going to be. And enjoy your downtime. Catch your movies. I thought he was being a bit sarcastic, being
Well, I think he was.
Yeah, he was definitely being a bit sarcastic. And then within moments, we get the first drone or the first alert. Incoming transport, incoming transport, incoming transport. And then we see with each transport, they're doing emergency triage. So we've seen a little bit in the past in other programs in Star Trek itself. They attend to them and right away, incoming transport, incoming transport. You got to move these people off. And then another group comes in and they're wounded, maybe even worse. And
Well,
you've
she
got
didn't get much downtime, did she?
No,
Oh.
not at all.
I mean, he tells her to get downtime. The next time, he didn't have time to watch even a quick TikTok video. She had to go to work right away.
And he disappeared.
Yeah, he's like, here you go. And maybe he went to watch the movie. I don't know.
I think he was. Maybe he was trying to ask Nurse Chapel to come with him and watch the movie. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't know.
maybe.
Well, with all the wounded, he was
his role was
probably in a surgery.
Right.
But
Yes.
it's the MASH analogy. I mean, they all come in off the helicopter, you throw them in the ER, and you do the best you can.
Yeah.
I mean, they didn't have anything. They didn't have what didn't they have? They didn't have any equipment.
An organ regenerator.
Yeah, they didn't have a regenerator. I mean, so they'll probably actually have to stitch these people up with real stuff. I mean, real thread, not just like McCoy would do and have them cured in a second. But you're right. They probably, because of the war, they didn't have a lot of things. But you're right, Greg. I mean, they didn't have a replicator, and they just couldn't heal people like they could normally on a starship.
There was a couple things here that stood out in this first sequence. As they were coming in the shuttle, they mentioned that they were going to the FOB, but they didn't say what the FOB is. It's forward operating base. So they weren't calling it a MASH; they were calling it like forward operating base. So this looked probably also could have supported coordination, as we later see when Special Forces is staging for their effort. I thought it was interesting that the shuttle pilot mentioned that they were a mile from the front and not 1.8 kilometers.
Right.
And also, if this was supposed to be during the Klingon War, everybody had Station World Zero badges.
Yep.
And Chapel actually had a sciences badge, not civilian nursing. So I thought that was a couple little interesting points here. And the other thing that Clint Howard's character, Buck Martinez, shouted all the time was bills and bows. That's an old English phrase where a bill is like a giant hooked polearm, and a bow, of course, is bows and arrows, like longbow. So when I picked up on like bills and bows, that's a call to arms. That's not for medical, but that's what he was hollering out.
Yeah.
So
I believe it was on. I'm sorry.
There was a lot in this opening that if you hadn't been around military or historical stuff, it was blasted at you, and you kind of like had to. My wife was like asking me like every few moments like stuff. So I'm like, pause. If I didn't know it, I had to Google it, like FOB.
Yeah. It's interesting. I think I knew what FOB was, so I didn't even bother to look that one up. But I didn't know that phrase, and I'm glad you made that clear to us. I believe it was on the third batch of wounded that it was Alvarado or Alvaro. I didn't spell it out right here, but I think it was Alvarado.
I believe that's what I wrote down, so I think you're right there.
Okay, Alvarado. And he is mortally wounded. And the doctor, if I'm not mistaken, Dr. Mbenga says, yeah, we don't have this. He's done. He makes a decision right then and there. And she's like, no. What can we do? And he's like, all right, you know what? We can place him in a buffer. He gives them a strange look. Like, you know what? And well, he kept his daughter in a buffer, didn't he? So
Mhm.
yeah.
I have to say that like the whole thing of putting people in a transporter buffer, now Scotty doesn't seem so smart anymore.
Yeah,
It's just
I know.
a common theme.
Yeah, no
But he
kidding.
did last a long time in the buffer, though.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
well, you have to set it up so it would do that recycle thing on its own.
That said, the other guy died, so I mean,
There you go.
Yeah.
yeah.
Because incoming transport.
Yeah. Oh, and it was on the Janolan too, a transport. So he's placed in the buffer, and then we switch to the chief medical log, 1875.8. And he's doing a report on Biobed 2. It's never been the same since the Gorn attack. And then Pike enters, and I wonder if it was just the doctor trying to get lost in the minutia because he knows who's aboard. And yet or I shouldn't say and yet, but he just doesn't want to deal with it. That's why he's gone back to Biobed too. But, however, I don't know what your thoughts were on that, but
It was right away. I got the impression that not just he was keeping himself busy, but we're going to have an allegory.
Yeah, it was definitely a metaphor.
About things that are broken.
Yeah.
And getting to the very end, yes, that some things can't be repaired. And
Well,
they
we might,
definitely.
since most of us saw the preview for next week, that scene probably is very significant, maybe for the episode next week.
I'm wondering that as well.
Oh, that was good. That's a good catch, gentlemen. Appreciate that. All right. I have not seen the preview for episode 10, which will be the final one. So,
Oh my god,
I've
is it
only
the
seen
end
the
already? Wow.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
already the end.
Already.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
the end. And yeah,
Very quick 9 weeks.
yeah. Well, we got the surprise of Comic-Con where they debuted that episode, which was really surprising. I was kind of in line to see it, but it was just unbelievable. The line was just ridiculous, and I don't want to go to it. So Pike comes in and he asks for some Delton parsley. They're doing a little bit of small talk, and then he's talking about, look, Starfleet wants veterans to interact with him. And I believe that's where he stated that on the ship before, there was a bit of a demonstration. And that's why he was moved over to Enterprise, I'm assuming. And this is good. Veterans should interact, but I don't want to force them. I'm just, Starfleet is saying that they should interact. And surprisingly, Mbenga says, I'll be there. And Pike turns around and Chapel's there. And she acknowledged that she was listening, and she said, I'll be there as well.
Yeah,
And
she
Pike
snuck up on him.
Yeah, Pike was happy. And then we switched back to your car. And it's getting uglier and uglier with every flashback, I suppose, that we see. And in this one, there's another gentleman that is they transport in, and he shot up real bad, more so than anyone else. And he dies on the operating table. His heart stops beating. And what does Mbenga tell her? Get it to go. Put your hand in there. Massage it. Get it to
She
go.
didn't know what he was talking about.
Yeah.
I guess she was used to having all the equipment, so she wasn't used to doing it the old-fashioned way.
Yeah. Medicine is a lot cleaner in their day.
Mm-hmm.
McCoy said bear skins and knives or whatever back in the 20th century. But hey, it's better off. So she does. She's finagling the heart. She's pushing on it. I guess she pinches it, and it gets to go. And even she was excited about it. I hadn't seen her be excited over a medical procedure ever. And she was on this one because she brought him back to life. She genuinely did. And that was really cool. And then we return. Oh, no, I apologize. Right after that, we see that Mbenga is talking to this gentleman who is from... Okay, now actually, I think we learned that a little bit later. Yeah, I think we do. But grabs his heart. And then Ortegas and Mbenga are discussing in the hallway about going to dinner. And Ortega still said, or makes it clear, I don't trust him. He's using us. He's learning our secrets. And she is having none of it. If you think about it, Ortegas is the one that's clearly letting her feelings know. Mbenga and Chapel are biting their lip, and everyone else is staying quiet. I appreciate the different levels here. And look, Mbenga says we're doing it for the captain. That's why. So they make their way to the dinner, and then the dinner hits. Gentlemen, anyone else want to continue from here? Because there was a lot that happened at the dinner.
There was a lot. Now I'm trying to remember details.
Okay, it begins.
It was tense. It was tense from the beginning.
Now remember, it starts with the ambassador holding court and explaining. Well, he was regaling the party and talking about all the stuff that was going on. And while they're there, Spock and Chapel are off to the side, and they're having a strained conversation. And Spock, incredibly perceptive, and correct me if I'm wrong, gentlemen, this is where he goes up to her. He says, "You're not handling this well." And she's like, what are you talking about? And she has her glass gripped right there between her breast and her shoulder, right? And it is like, ugh. And Spock says, you okay? He was being perceptive, and she kind of blows him off. Says, I really don't want to talk about this right now. And just before that, Nyota was talking to the ambassador, asking him, is it true that in all your conversations, all your negotiations, you had to drink blood wine? I guess as Klingons, we know that's exactly what they do. And just a bit after Chapel and Spock have the conversation, Spock asks about Sun Tzu. What does the Klingon say? He says, an enlightened human being. And I think it's where Mbenga and Chapel, while that conversation are going on, actually Mbenga gets up and he moves over and he starts serving a drink. And apparently it
seemed like that was Spock's effort to try to, the conversation was turning to something that was making Christine really uncomfortable. And it seemed like that was Spock's effort to get off that topic.
Yeah,
Spock, he kind of offered to go, do something to make it easier for Christine.
Yeah. That, that's true. It's right. He did. I like that. Elizabeth says, and Benga's body language says it all. Yeah, there's no doubt about that.
Again, this season, the directors have done so much capturing body language and facial expression as part of the dialogue. They really have gone above and beyond to capture the talent of these actors.
It was at that moment where Mbenga serving himself, I guess, a double, and then Chapo says, "I'll have the same." He says, "I'm having a double, and so be it. Let me have that too." And good. And then she starts to have that conversation with Mbenga. Why are we here? Because you know why. We're here to help the captain. He needs us. And then she starts to utter things that many of us won't never ever know. She says, "Why is it so hard to explain to people who weren't there?"
Yeah.
That encapsulates the warrior that has gone to places that many of us will never know. And gentlemen, and for everyone also watching, I'm not trying to insult you by saying you weren't there. I was not there. I'll never know. And I try to see through their eyes, and I get it. The subtlety, the anger, the resentment, and she's like, "Don't you people understand what we went through? Didn't you read the reports? Don't you know the stories? Didn't you see the hollows? Didn't you see all that stuff?" And you wonder why we're having trouble processing this. That conversation was short, but it was really good. I don't know what your thoughts were on that, gentlemen.
It seemed like it was an unavoidable moment in the evening. Because they opened where it seemed like, Rob was telling stories, and then it's like you knew somehow it was going to get back there. Especially with Ortega's at the table.
Yeah, and we're not actually getting some of those pure vibes just yet. Then we transition back to Jakar, and here it is. Mbenga and that survivor who was born on Terra Una. He is from New Angeles. And he is talking about, man, it feels like someone, was messing with my heart. He says, yeah, as a matter of fact, they were. They did. They pinched your heart. Or someone squeezed. No, he says, someone squeezed my heart with their finger. And Mbenga just deadpan. Yeah, they did. That was just, yeah, sorry, son. Don't mean to disappoint you, but you got that right. You want to try for double? So it was good.
So how much was he really out at the time? That makes me wonder too.
Oh, yeah. Huh?
If he could tell that, it's like, ooh.
Now, gentlemen, is this right after that where that Andorian comes up to him?
Yeah.
It was. Yes, you're nodding. Come on, take me through it. Because unfortunately, all I put was Protocol 12.
Right. So we don't know his name yet, but we have this Valtrask, an Andorian special operative. Like, he's coming to get Mbenga to do something, and you get the idea that they want to do a covert strike on Ra, or General Doc Ra, and Mbenga's oh, I'm a doctor now. So not only are we learning about Mbenga's past, but we're also learning he has more past. And apparently this guy was quite the fighter, more hand-to-hand kills or something. And it's like, it harkens back to the episode in the Lotus Eaters, where they mentioned that Mbenga said he didn't really want to be known for his fighting abilities.
It was there where the operative, I guess he's coy. He wants the goods, but Mbenga says, "Don't even ask. You're not going to get it."
Yeah.
Dude,
so here's where we learn
Go ahead.
what that little green stuff is. It was Protocol 12, and it's a cocktail of sorts. That puts people. We've seen it in action. It puts people in their best form, and
Did we
it's
see
bad
that
for
in
you.
another episode?
We
Yes.
did season opener.
Yeah.
That's what I thought. Okay. I kept thinking, I said, haven't we seen this before? I just couldn't remember. Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah, it turns out shooting your body full of adrenaline and painkillers is bad for you.
And what does he say though? He says, "Better to die tomorrow than today."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. And the Andorian, they made it sound like it, if it was discontinued, shouldn't have it. But it was kind of like contraband. And the Andorian says, "Oh, my team needs an edge."
Yeah. Didn't he tell him? Well, just make some more. You know
Yeah.
how to do it.
He said,
Didn't you come up with
developed
this?
it or something? Didn't he say?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. What was that,
Again.
Michael?
He developed it. I thought that's what they
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
But this just goes back to soldiers always wanting an edge, even in today's warfare and throughout all wars. They always want to look for an edge and a way to escape as well. So, I mean, having these illegal contraband is just a thing of war. I mean, it doesn't matter what war you're talking about. So, I mean, that's probably what that was about. That people want the edge. They need to go in for combat, and like you said, I'd rather die tomorrow than today, and that's the thinking that you have to go when you go into a battle situation. So it's nothing new, but it's there for a reason for people who don't know the horrors of war.
Right.
Richard, help me out. Gentlemen, help me out on this. But Richard, it was that same conversation, right? Does the Andorian operative tell him why he wants it, or it's just that a secret op, or there's an op coming up and I really need it? Give us a chance, Doctor. That's what he was telling him. It was that the moment? Did he say that they wanted to use it to go after him? Do you guys remember that? Was it at that moment?
That's the thing. That's the idea that I had. Because,
Yeah.
I mean,
paraphrased a lot
it was
of
very.
it. Yeah.
It wasn't a long drawn out scene, but that's the idea that I got, is that they wanted it, and Mabanga didn't want to give it to him, but he's like, we want an edge, and it seems like the Andorian had something over him too. So I mean,
Oh yeah.
didn't it to you guys seem like he had something over him because if he didn't get this, something may happen to him? What do you guys? What do you think?
It sounded to me more like they were familiar.
Yes.
That's what I'm saying. They were familiar, and
Yeah. That and that he knew. If we ever learn more about Mbanga's deeper past, we might see Trask again, and we'll learn about Mbanga's covert ops abilities more,
Or something before that.
or something even before that. I'm really loving this character.
Yeah. Any thoughts about that, Aaron? Or
No, sorry. I was just looking to refresh my memory about which conversation it took place in.
Right, because there was another one that happened a little bit later.
There was a few. It was very
yeah,
back
there
and
was a
forth.
few.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Gentlemen, you know that when I take notes, I always say, okay, here's a teaser, then Act 1, Act 2, Act 3. I don't have notations of Acts 2, 3, and 4
I'm not surprised.
because of this way the episode moved.
The intensity.
Yes.
We're still about 2/3 of the way through Act 1 here.
Yeah.
That's pretty sad.
Yeah, I hear you. Elizabeth, I think this was a comment that we were talking about a little bit earlier, but thank you. You can't. They will not get it. Many try and aren't that, but it's not the same. I appreciate that, Elizabeth. So, yeah. No, that's cool.
That's all we can be.
Yes. Now, we switch immediately thereafter, and we're back to dinner. And then this is where the Klingon ambassador admits, well, the events on this planet changed me. And that's where Mbanga says, changed you? It changed a lot of us. And that was the acknowledgement by the ambassador by like, oh, you were there as well. So I think it goes unsaid, but he acknowledges it. And then Ortegas can no longer bite her lip. Straight up. You're nodding, Aaron. You want to jump in on that one right there? Because that was, I thought that was well done.
I think it was just that thing of like, there was so much tension in that room and no one was actually saying what they meant and she just couldn't deal with it anymore and had to walk out. I think given how she's been presented so far, she was the one that was going to
go. The ambassador implies what it was, and then she says, is it true? Level with us. Is it true? The story about you killing your officers. And, it's right there where she starts to get aggressive. And then she starts saying the chant, which she spoke in perfect Klingon. And then she said, remain Klingon. That was your chant. You're an ambassador of peace, but that was your chant. That's who you were, because it was easier, wasn't it? Just to kill everyone else. And immediately, number one, she's like, Ensign, or no, Lieutenant, stand down. That was good. And no, she wouldn't stand down. And the Klingon tried to carry on the conversation. And she says, oh, no. That's all we heard on the comms. That's all we heard. Remain Klingon, and then bam. The implication was the attack or everyone was dead. That was cold. That was hard. And just as you said, Aaron, I've had it. I'm out. You are who you are. I don't take you for being peaceful. You are the butcher of such and such. You are this, you are that. She gets up, does not ask for permission, just turns on her heel and leaves. And no one says a word. Wow. That was, I don't know, gentlemen, in position of authority, that's tough.
If he killed his own officers, that's not an honorable death, is it?
Well, it is an honorable death for human beings when you consider the story he was telling, that he had gotten to the point that it was an immoral thing that they were doing. Because the massacre, I don't know the name, but the massacre killed everyone. They were killing everyone. And he implies, or the story is implying, that at that point, he was done. And the only way he was going to get these people to answer was by killing them. Am I interpreting that correctly, gentlemen?
I'm just saying that that's not an honorable death for a Klingon. A Klingon wants to be killed in battle, not by the hand of their own officer. I mean, to me, it's not.
Sorry.
If you're a Klingon, that is not an honorable death.
Richard, I'm sorry. You're right. Right. For the alleged officers that were killed, yes, that is not an honorable death. I guess to die in combat, yes, but to be killed off by your superior officer, if you're following instructions.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Roger, that it confused you, but that's what I mean. And he's talking. I'm just saying, if that's what happened, even the Klingon families of these officers would be after him too for not giving them the honorable death that a Klingon deserves, if I'm not mistaken.
Which is probably why he defected.
Probably.
That's a good call, Aaron.
Well, also later we learned those events weren't exactly as they're believed to be either. So,
well, yeah, that's why alleged, right? That's the whole thing behind the story, and that's why I kind of alluded to it in the defector. It says, wait a minute, you call me this, you call me that. Maybe I'm neither. But Aladir Giroc was doing it for another purpose. He had a purpose. I don't know if this guy did. So we're going to get to that in a moment. So it was at that moment where Chapel says, you know what? I'm going to go check on Ortegas because Chapel's had it. And then Pike very observantly sees that M'Benga is altering matter by gripping the chair. I'm exaggerating, but he was gripping that chair and it was bad. M'Benga was standing true. but he was holding it in down here. And Pike said, yeah, why don't you go and check up on those two? See if Ortegas needs help.
Yeah, I know he could tell that they were fuming.
Yes. And they were doing it for Pike. They were being good officers. And it was at that moment where the ambassador says, I connect with those needing healing. And, oh, no, I'm sorry. He told that to Ortegas. I connect with needing healing like you. I can understand that I've been called worse, whatever. But she just gets up and leaves. And then as Mbenga gets up, he's walking. The ambassador grabs him by the arm and holds on to him. Says, I've been told that you're a warrior. So, you want to go a few rounds? What does Mbenga say? I have to check my calendar. Jeez. Rather flippant, but yes.
But he does it.
Yeah.
But he does it. And I guess it was for Pike.
Yeah. And that is just a little bit later, because then we're back to Jakar.
Yeah.
Well, also,
I'm trying to get off
we-
of that planet. It's too depressing.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
no, I was just gonna. I was just jumping ahead with Michael there. I was just gonna say, I think he. I don't remember if it was in the dialogue explicitly, but I think he also wanted to see if Ra really. He wanted to see the Ra that he is now as well, for himself.
That's interesting. Oh, I didn't get that, but okay. All right. I appreciate that. We switched to Jakar, and now that Survivor, the one that had his heart,
Oh
yeah, saved by, and I guess we missed the deep conversation that we had. And the guy tells him that, look, I must have been on drugs. I'm sorry, but I'm here to do a job. Just like we were having on our conversation, wasn't it? So he kind of throws the words back at the doctor. Says, I have my orders. That's why we're here. And Mbenga's like, dude, I can get you off. Dude, you just recovered from major injury.
This was actually the earlier conversation at this point, Roger. Sorry. So this was the more, what are we doing here, I think, conversation.
Okay, yeah, that was earlier, which I did not comment on, and I apologize. Go ahead, Aaron.
Oh no, I was just agreeing with Greg.
Yeah, because it was at this point where he's already ready to go, and they're going to launch the next attack at dawn, I guess. And that's where Mbenga says, look, dude, you come on, man. I can put you on medical leave. And he says, no. Just like you said earlier, we're fighting for our families. Someone has to do it. So then in one of the moments that I commented to my daughter, Spock catches Chapel in the hall. And folks, I don't know if I've ever seen a tender Spock in my life, but this Spock knew exactly what was going on. He went up to Chapel and he's asking her, how are you? What is this? What is that? And I forget exactly what she tells him. And then Spock says one of the most illuminating things. He says, and I'm not helping, am I? Oh, man. I thought that was so cool when Spock said that. He said, yep, I'm not helping you get through this. That was really cool.
Because that's supposed to link to the first episode of the season where he tries to make Erica feel better. And she's like, you can't, so just don't. And then he's like, I'm going to work on... Yeah.
But it seemed that Spock had improved in this scenario with Nurse Chapel, but then again, she doesn't want to talk about it to anyone. I mean, anyone that's been in these circumstances, no, that's a lot. You don't want to talk about it. I mean, it's too raw, and you don't want to talk about it to anyone. I mean, to this day, Vietnam vets do not want to talk about their time in country. And any veteran of any war, I mean, though it just goes hand in hand that she didn't want to talk about it either. I mean, it's not something you want to have a casual discussion with, and trying to catch Spock up is not going to help.
What words that were so appropriate. And then he says, I'm only making it worse. Thank you, Greg. Greg will be returning in just a moment. We have a comment. Exactly, Richard. Thank you, Elizabeth, for that. And the story is taking us to places that we're about to see are going to get even worse. We're back to Jakar. And what happens? There's an attack going on, and they've lost power. They're on backup generators. And use all the technobabble you want. They can't bring Wounded over unless they redo the system. They restart up. They clean the buffers. This is an actual thing that's done for computers, right, gentlemen? When you want to start up your computer, basically clearing the memory. And when they said you have to clear out the buffers, for the second time in the episode, I heard it out loud. Wait. But Alvarado's in there. And she looks at Mbenga. But he's in there. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. Michael?
I went, no, they wouldn't do this, would they? And they did.
Aaron?
I mean, I definitely knew that she wasn't going to be able to do it. So I think what was really clever is that they cut to a shot of the control panel, and the hand that you see moving is Mbenga's hand, and you just know that, like, yeah, and she just looks at him like, how could you do that to somebody?
Being caregivers and like that. But I think Mbenga said something about we have to save others.
Yeah.
Richard.
If they didn't do that, they wouldn't have been able to get some of the wounded over there.
Yeah. And then we see a shot of all the like transport people.
Oh,
through,
tons! There were tons coming through.
So,
yeah.
Richard, your thoughts on that?
That just shows. I mean, those decisions, as tough as they are, sometimes need to be made, and Chapel was not used to that yet. I mean, you can sit there and, I mean, these decisions, as tough as they are, sometimes just you have to decide which is the best decisions. I mean, yeah, they're in the buffer, but if we keep them, we're not going to be able to help anyone else. So, and, you know, we've seen this in other war where, you know, someone has to die because we need to save somebody else, or we can't really do much for this guy, so we got to move on because of time restraints. So it's unfortunate that in that day and age of, I mean, in the future, that they still have to make these tough decisions on who lives and who dies.
Yeah. Thank you for that. We switch immediately. And the Warriors are about to have a rematch, which little did we know was a rematch. Not the first time. They're all dressed up in their karate, judo. I don't know. What is the martial art? I was a bit sarcastic, and I apologize. I don't mean to be. But do you know what the martial art was that they were supposedly...
I can't remember what they said, but they did say what it was.
It's the same one that Worf teaches people, isn't it, in TNG?
Oh...
Because that's why isn't that why they're in those outfits? Because it's supposed to be like the one from TNG. It's like Muck Talk or something like that.
Okay, appreciate that.
My Klingon is so bad, I don't remember things like that. So,
in my mind, not knowing what was going to happen and knowing Mbenga, this is the first. Gentlemen, I'm not one for physical violence and stuff and whatever. I'm not a pacifist by any means, but let me tell you. I don't know about you guys. Richard, when this fight was going to start, I was looking forward to Mbenga enlightening this Klingon on what the other side was like. What were your thoughts about it?
I wasn't sure because Klingons are stronger than humans, so. But I still expected Mbenga to get some good blows in before he went down. I know that the Klingon is kind of old, but so is Worf, and he can still hold on to his own. But I'm just saying, I didn't expect this to be a good outcome. I mean, no matter how angry the doctor got, he was still going to get his butt kicked by a stronger Klingon. you just hope that he got some good blows in there, drew some blood, and then before he went down for the count.
Okay, this is important. I like that. The difference between Richard and I right now. And Greg, you're on mute. So when you come back in, let us know what it is. Aaron, what were your thoughts? Like I said, I was expecting M'Benga to go in there and educate this Klingon.
Yeah, I feel like he's in this whole thing. He's trying to really size him up. Like he's giving him the opportunity to, if he has changed and if he is reformed, he's just trying to weigh it up.
Okay.
Yeah.
Michael.
I'm not sure. I didn't know what to think. As we know later, it's. I might go with Aaron. I mean, I think he might have been sizing him up because maybe he wanted to do enough to get him to admit that he was lying. But maybe he decided what he thought he could try to do was not working, and so maybe he's tried another tactic. But I mean, it was. I expected him to knock him over too, but just because of what we've seen in the previous episodes with his martial arts.
Before I go to Greg, I want to ask everyone. We obviously know now that M'Benga knew something else, and both he and Chapel, the rabid anger towards this guy. Did Chapel know
what he did?
Yeah, or what M'Benga tried to do. Remember, we haven't talked about it just yet. Does she know? Because if you think about it, Ortega's she's Lieutenant Styles from, that where she's mouthing off towards the enemy. But M'Benga and Chapel were clearly quiet, fuming, holding in their fear. Does Chapel know what M'Benga tried to do? I think
so, because don't they have a scene where she says goodbye to him and he's in his special ops outfit?
That's right, yeah.
He does say.
But does she know exactly what he did though? Or he just went off on a mission?
Okay, and that's cool. But look, Elizabeth, I think you've got it right. I believe she did. And okay. So that's gonna come into play in a little bit because I think she did know.
She may
have, and that'll come in the after. Greg, what was it, please?
What was what?
The art, the martial art.
Oh, the Makbara.
Yeah. Okay.
When M'Benga and the Klingon were facing off, this would have been a good time for a PTDS episode where maybe he does go ballistic on him. They missed a good scene where we see another part of it, but it seems like M'Benga was in control what he was doing. But this would have been another. To me, it would have been another way to have him have another PTDS episode and then just go ballistic, and then maybe someone has to come in and hold him back.
Ooh, okay, fair enough.
I don't know what I don't know where the writers wanted to go with this. You got the idea that M'Benga, was being polite. Rob wanted to spar with him. But at the same time, it also gave the writers an opportunity to have a conversation just between those two characters. You don't know what he's getting to yet, but M'Benga asks Ra, who fought the hardest of all the generals or all the captains? Who fought the hardest? And
wait. What was that in this conversation or the one a little bit later?
Yeah.
When he says who fought the hardest.
Yeah, this was in
because
the. I mean, we did have another flashback in between.
Yeah, but okay, right, but that happens so much. No, I thought that in this first engagement, it looked like M'Benga got a few shots in, but there was a scene where you could see that this Klingon was clearly bigger than him, and he basically manhandling him, and then they were done. I didn't
even say I'm more virile than I appear.
Yeah, And
Whereas I'm less virile than I appear. I'm out of the
right.
gym for years, so.
I think it was a more genteel. I think when they have the argument about the, who fought, I thought that was a little bit later,
No, I
because
think there's definitely a flashback in this scene because I think either the way that he fights or what he says about who fought the hardest, he has the general has a flashback to that experience, and you see like a Starfleet special ops outfit, and then
Yeah.
his expression is like, "This is familiar.
ooh,
Something."
okay, all right, yes,
Oh yeah, definitely, definitely, Elizabeth.
okay. So right after that, he has a shower, and it's a sonic shower, and I forget the settings, but he chose a very high setting for it. And
Can I
then,
just say I really appreciate that the sonic shower, like the background of the sonic shower, had a very sort of 60s, 70s psychedelic.
It did.
Like,
It looked
pattern.
like the communicator.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
think that was a nice touch.
Yeah,
For
yeah.
like the original series.
oh my god, that's
There are
right.
subtle, stylings
Yeah.
to make this look like not even like late '60s, but even earlier.
Yeah, especially
Like-
in the port galley, like the galley
Yeah.
windows and forward. There's a very
Yep. No,
That is
it's
good.
really, it's there. It's subtle. We're watching a modern production, but they're saying, this did take place before.
Yeah,
And
it's
they even have chairs that look very much like the tulip chairs
they are. They're the same chairs.
without the back.
yeah,
Yep.
yeah, that is
which
good stuff.
was added to the tulip chairs for TOS.
Yes, yes.
That's right. Yes.
Can I also say, and I think about this because I found it quite evident in the fighting scene. I feel like the makeup for this Klingon in this whole episode, but particularly in that fighting scene, didn't look believable to me. It looked like someone had a full headpiece on and he had dreadlocks underneath. Like, it just didn't. I don't know whether they were trying to justify the Discovery thing of the whole Klingon like head shape. It goes right to the back because we only see the forehead part usually, but this didn't do it for me. That was
I
my
agree
one
with
gripe with this
I
episode.
agree with Aaron because that's what I noticed that early on. Like, what kind of headpiece is that? It's like they just made something, stuck on his head, and said, "There you go."
Yeah, it was
Yeah, because it did look like it was
I was
like
going to bring that up.
pushing
I was
into
going to
his
bring that
brain.
up. I forgot all about it, Aaron. I was going to bring that up, but yeah, it just looks like
Yeah.
something you would see from the '60s episode TOS. So I mean, yeah, I agree with you there, Aaron.
Maybe it was a nod to the TOS era.
No, maybe, but he would have had green makeup and a goatee. So I don't understand that. But other than that, I didn't buy the headpiece either. Thanks for bringing that up, Aaron. I forgot all about that.
Yeah, for me,
It's
that was
not
just
the
the one
first
thing that
time.
just pulled me out of it, unfortunately.
Right. Yeah, and it's not the first time that 4K has made the prosthetic look like a prosthetic.
Yeah, and I know that, the Discovery version of the Klingons is a very controversial thing. However, I think if no one knew Star Trek and they approached that as the first show and they were like, "Yeah, this is a Klingon. This looks like an alien. It stands up in 4K." That would work.
Okay. Because now they've gone away from that. Obviously, they've gone back to the original TNG.
Yeah, and
I
we obviously
apologize.
see those in the little fight scenes, the flashback fight scenes. We see the original, well, not
Right.
original, the movie Klingons. But yeah, but they looked more believable, I think, than the general.
Well,
Yeah,
they
So
didn't
it
have
was
any
also
money.
shaky. Sorry.
I was going to say that in Picard, Worf still looked like he was not wearing a prosthetic either. I mean, he looked like he was supposed to look, and somehow this one, in this, on Strange New Worlds, looked like it didn't even seem to. It's like a cap that you'd wear for Halloween or something.
Yep.
Yeah. Did they talk
Aaron,
about
did you
prosthetics in Ready
think that
Room?
was throughout the episode, Aaron, or just the fight scene that you felt that way?
I think to me it was more noticeable. Actually, I think it actually might have been the dinner scene because it was lit from the top. It just
Exactly. Yeah.
emphasized it more. But yeah, through the whole episode, as soon as he was on the transporter pad, I was like, something's not right there.
I kept thinking it was like he got ate by a zombie and someone tried to eat his brain, and all you see was his skull was torn off. But yeah, that was just me. But I'm just that. I mean, yeah. I mean, I caught it. I didn't like it. I caught it too, Aaron. I was going to bring that up, but I'm glad that you did because it's. I don't know. I don't know. It just seemed like they just, you know what? We got holes in the budget. We're going to have to cut on the prosthetic on the Klingon and just get this plastic cap that we found at Walmart or the Dollar Tree or something.
I really hope that wasn't the case, but yeah.
Well, I know what you mean, but still.
Hey, Greg, you wanted to say something?
No, I was just jumping on the bandwagon because there's it did look like it was like squeezing his natural hair.
Okay, and I didn't catch that, gentlemen, so I'm gonna have to take a look at that right now. But I'm at the point where I'm actually looking at the episode again, and what I interpreted as different scenes was an extended sonic shower, and everything you gentlemen said, it was right on. Not that I questioned it; it's just I saw it again, but I didn't realize the sonic shower lasted a lot longer because
It was
while
long.
shower,
Yeah.
what I had is
A lot of
another
flashbacks.
scene. Yes.
And
About
a lot of
civilian
flashbacks
casualties.
until it stayed in the past.
Yes, and that's what I wanted to point out because I was going to talk about. Okay, we went to the shower, and then we see the civilian casualties. No, that was part of the shower, and then when it finally ends, we go to Captain's ready room, and number one, the perceptive woman that she is. Here you go, Captain. I have a course change for you. Hey, what's this for? We're going to go through the nebula, save some time. Why? Come on, buddy. Come on. Now, I'm obviously paraphrasing and I'm doing it, but it was her idea. Says, let's go through this nebula. Let's go through the rapids. We got to get this guy off this ship because morale is bad. We saw a taste of it because of the dinner, the transporter room, and on the bridge, and that was it. But number one is saying, we've got to get him off this ship. Plus, we had the comment that there was a demonstration on the other ship against this general. So Captain Pike was like, yeah, I agree. Let's do it. Any comments on that? Otherwise?
Well, I do have one comment that I just thought of is
Go.
Why doesn't this guy have any kind of security around him? He should be his life should be in danger no matter what ship he's on and how this would take place. I mean, I understand, but you would still think there would be some security around this guy to help make sure he stays safe. I mean, unless they don't care if he gets killed off. I mean, that could be it too. Well, we don't care. If he dies, he dies.
That might be true too. I mean, they never really discussed that, but that could be a possibility.
He
They
could have
didn't
had
have
an aide that was undercover security. Because if you think about it, folks, okay, this is cool. I don't know what your thoughts are, but if you have this guy with the history that they've clearly established, and then he has a security guard in tow, oh, that does not look good. They could have made he had an aide, and wink, wink, that was his security. Because every ambassador that we've seen in Star Trek, and correct me if I'm wrong, gentlemen, they've never had security. Admiral Nora Sati from the Judge Advocate office, she had 2 assistants. That was it. She wasn't an ambassador, I don't think.
Yeah, but he came all alone, though. I mean, there was no one on board with him, so I don't know. It's interesting now that you think about it, but I don't know. It just seems like even if assistants that were undercover security would make sense too, Raj, but he just comes on by himself like, hey, here I am. Take your best shot.
Yeah, but then the assistant would have had to have been the bad guy. They would have, his antenna would have broken off or something.
Yeah.
Well, I'm just I know what you're saying, Greg, but still,
That's funny.
Here's a guy that is not liked in the Federation and demonstrations, that there would be some kind of protocol to help him not feel all by himself, because now he's all alone among 200 people that want him dead.
Well, he's supposed to be representing the Federation on a Federation vessel.
Yeah.
Which is probably about 20% security officers.
Yeah.
We'll see how that's going for him. Being a Federation representative on the Federation. It's not exactly going, bee's knees on this thing. I mean, it's just like, I don't know. I'm just saying, you think that he would have some kind of other people around him so he doesn't feel like he's a lone Klingon or the lone person in this. I don't know. Maybe I'm thinking too much. Or
No,
not
no,
at all.
no, 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 no. It's good. I like it. It's really good stuff. All right. Got it, Michael. Thank you. See you in just a moment. Michael will return in just a moment. And folks, that ends the easy part of this episode because the grand finale happens. Right after they change course, we're back on Jakar, and there's no BS. We know that Mbenga already saw the special op guy dead, saw the civilians dead, saw a lot of people dead. And Mbenga says, no more for me, thanks. I'm driving. And he has a quick conversation with Chapel, and she's like, no. He says, yes. And he hands her the device and says, you wait until the last possible moment to beam me out. Because they're evacuating. That's the impression that I got. But he's like, I have to put an end to this.
Yeah, they were relocating, I think, because of a hotter spot lit up. There was something about some colony, and I thought I wrote down the name of the colony, but I don't see it.
I didn't either, yes. Yeah, I unfortunately just wrote Jakar, and it's a quick conversation, and he makes his way, because he's dressed in Starfleet battle dress. He's not a CMO. He is now a man on a mission, a man who has many body kills. And then we switch to today. And the doctor walks into sickbay. Aaron, your thoughts on this? Because this was a complex, well done scene, in my humble opinion.
So I think this scene. Actually, first of all, can I just say that because
Yes.
this is the last scene on the on the planet, that the AR wall and how they did that set, I think that was a really effective use of the AR wall this time. Like, it didn't look. Sometimes it looks a bit stagey, but I think the way it was layered this time was really cool. But yeah, so they cut from. I think we have a shot of the box. And then we cut to a shot of Mbenga in sickbay with the box.
Yes.
Which was a nice juxtaposition, I think. And our Klingon friend comes in to have a little chat with him.
Yeah. Greg?
Yeah, so this was, Raw, still trying to be Raw. I want to be friends. I want to reform. And, you should have known better. Because, Mbenga, Kurt, please don't leave now, all of it, and it got pushed. And, we see the duck hog in the box, it's still there when they start struggling.
Yeah. Yeah, it was something that I was genuinely surprised by. And when I saw the Doc Tog, I was like, oh boy, this is going to be bad. And knowing that the Klingon had already kind of whooped them the first time, I was genuinely worried for Mbenga. Men, we know how men are. We know how stupid they can be. And it looked bad. Richard, some of your thoughts on that, this whole scene, the entire engagement.
I'm trying to remember it, and I can't remember it. So I'm going
That's all good.
So I'm just going to agree with Greg.
Okay. All right.
Good
Fair
choice.
enough. Michael, we're talking about where Mbenga and the ambassador are, he's had the moment where he's like, look, I need someone like you. You and I disagree. We were both there. But
Is this when they're in sick bay?
Right.
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh,
This
okay.
is
Now I know where
after.
we're at. Yeah, okay. This is one of the. Yeah, okay. I got you. This.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is probably the worst. This is probably not a good place for the Klingon to be. I mean,
Yeah.
face to face with someone that is still having issues with that, and then I don't know why you would. I don't know. He's reach. I don't know why the Klingon is reaching out and thinking that that if he wins over Mabanga, that he might have hope in this whatever he's trying to do, his diplomatic thing or whatever the hell he's up to. I don't know, but yeah. So he puts himself. So the Klingon only has it. I don't know. That it's just a bad situation. I think for him to be there all alone, even. And like once again, I'm going to bring up, he didn't have any security, so he's just leaving himself wide open for anything. And I still agree with Greg.
Michael, your thoughts?
Yeah, well, he's in his home turf.
Yeah.
And that would not be good for the Klingon, as we find out later.
You see, gentlemen, I thought it was at this point where they were having the conversation where he was talking and asking him about which is the one that fought you the most. But I suppose I'm wrong on that, because in the test exchange that they have, it's like, which is the one? Which is the one that was there? And then we see the flashback just before it happens. And I still don't believe that the ambassador understands what's about to happen. And he was just blinded to it. I think it was at the last moment when he realized, oh boy, you were the one that was there. You were the one that covered my escape. Aaron, sum it up for us, man. You know exactly what happened on this episode.
Yeah, so it's at that point that Mbenga basically exposes the truth, that it was him that kills all the Klingons, and the Klingon general just took credit for it. And he's used his trauma and his pain to build a reputation. And it's funny, actually, because we did a short film that was quite similar to the idea that there are two conflicting stories, neither of which are true, and it's about owning the story and moving forward. Yeah, if you're going to have to go with the lie to survive, which is what the Klingon does, he goes with the lie to make it in the world. But I feel like, to be honest, for me, the start of this scene, probably even before Mbenga says, just go, I don't want you here, it came across to me like, I know he's going to kill him. As soon as we see the knife, he's dead. Yeah.
Oh,
and so
yeah.
as we even when they cut to the frosted glass and Chapel walks in and you can't really see the struggle, like, to me from the start I knew that it's Mbenga that kills him, and he kills him. It's almost like he sets him up, but he doesn't realize that it's a setup.
Yeah.
As in, Mbenga as a character doesn't realize that he's actually set this guy up, and he keeps pushing and he's going to kill him. So yeah, it was shocking, because you're just like,
do you think he planned this, or do you think it just happened?
No, I think it just happened. But as he kept saying, I suppose, Mbenga, I understand that is his home turf, so he wants the other guy to leave. But potentially in a real life normal situation, Mbenga could have walked away, and he could have closed the box, could have gone into another room. But I just feel like he just keeps edging this Klingon on to the point where as soon as he puts his hand on his shoulder, he's like, nope, not again.
Yeah.
Raw keeps pushing him though.
Yeah.
I think that's, it's like Mbenga could compose himself as long as, go away, stay away.
Yeah.
But, Raw just kept pushing, I want to be your friend. Come with me and see me in action. And, we hear the story, and, now all of a sudden, well, people need saints. They need belief. And,
yeah. And it's insulting in the same way that he insults Erica, saying, I want to be around people that are hurt, and I can see your pain, and blah, blah, blah. It's like, you don't know, that's the biggest insult you can give someone, because you're a liar. And the same way that Mbenga is like, you're using the suffering that I had to go through to prop yourself up. And yeah.
The way that they did this right up through this point and beyond is there is no hero.
Yep.
You're seeing the two sides of it. You're seeing, the supposed Federation ideals of forgiveness, give people another chance, the whole thing with, the death penalty is inhumane, people need to be reformed, and then you see, you know, what about justice for the victims? What about their, what's justice for them? And you see both sides of this. And again, I mean, you know, this is where science fiction is a vehicle for these discussions. If they did this as, a, um, a post Ukrainian war crime discussion, you it would be a lot more. It would be much harder for a massive audience to watch. But effectively, this is where that could go.
Yeah. Yeah. Wow, Greg, I appreciate that, and Aaron as well. Guys, it is at this moment where we learn, and for the audience, sorry, you're on with us for this long. The spoiler is here. It turns out that this guy requested asylum because he was a coward. He was a coward. And that's why I brought up that whole theme of the defector early on in the Next Generation. That was a whole different animal. It's a beautiful episode in and of itself. But anyway, in this one, Mbenga and Chapel are really the only ones that know the coward. Remember, Mbenga himself says, I am the butcher of this because of what you're called the butcher because you butchered those, your generals, lieutenants, whatever. No, I'm the butcher. You're a coward. And it's like they can't have it. And Chapel and Mbenga are the only ones that know. Ortegas represents the voice of everyone else that knows or believes he's lying because he's a Klingon. Klingons don't do that. They never have, they never will. And Richard kind of commented about that earlier, about the dishonorable death and stuff like that. That's a great tie-in. It's a shock. It turns out that this guy is a coward, he's a liar, and he's running. And most people know that he's a coward and a liar, and he's running. And Mbenga tries to let him go. Says, leave. And this guy says, no, I need you to help me to carry on the lie. And then Mbenga says, all right, I've had it. And we see what happens. Chapel sees it. And Pike is interviewing her right after this. And Chapel has her story solid, without a doubt, knows exactly what happened.
But did you notice when I guess they were saying, well, we ran where she was exactly at every single moment. She was there.
Yes.
So it's like that's how they figuring out if she was lying, if she really didn't see it. But the censors, I guess, said that she was right there when it happened. So
yeah.
Nobody lied. There were no lies. I watched this 3 times. There were no lies.
Okay.
There were unspoken truths.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
But
yeah.
Yes, the knife belonged to the butcher of Jagal. It had all of the the senior captain's blood on it.
Oh.
The timeline fits. Everybody was in sickbay at that time. So at this point, nobody was. Yeah, exactly.
Well done, Elizabeth. And for those that are listening, the box was also a metaphor as well. The box he kept closed is now completely open and can't be closed without release. Wow, good stuff. Now, it's funny how you gentlemen just mentioned the unspoken truth. Pike doesn't ask him if he's lying, but he says, dude, we've known each other. I can help you. It's like, wait a minute, what is it? Pike knows what happened.
Yeah.
And he's telling him, I can help you. Because this is huge. This is an ambassador.
Yeah.
Klingon ambassador. Michael, yes.
Yeah, I mean, he's a Klingon ambassador, but I think I agree with you. Pike knew. He 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 knew and he was trying to get him an out, but he didn't want an out. I mean, he did not want an out. I think he felt relief that the guy was dead.
And Greg, I appreciate that, Greg. Sorry, Michael.
What?
No, I cut you off, Michael. I'm sorry.
Oh, you did? Well, I didn't know you cut me off.
Okay. Well, there was relief, and it was done. And Greg, you were right. I was agreeing with what you just said a few moments ago, and I forgot what it was now, so I don't know. So.
Oh, I was probably rambling.
No, I'm the one that rambles. Folks, impressive stuff. What was your moment of the episode? Or give me your recap, and then we'll go to our scores. And then we'll talk about episode 9. And we'll get that one done, I think, real quick. But episode 8, folks, what were your final thoughts and your scores on this one?
My final thoughts were, I agree. When I think Aaron said you had to go look at something else to come down from it. I mean, I did too. Honestly, I turned on the episode before, right after I saw this the first time, and with the crossover episode of Strange New Worlds, because I said, I know that's gonna get me in a better mood.
Yeah.
So that's what I did. And I usually don't but honestly, I'm going to give this an A+.
Ooh, okay. All right, so we're going to go with the scores. Elizabeth, tell us in the chat room. Michael, you're going to give it an A+. So this is a tour de force, in your opinion. Wow.
Yeah,
right, Elizabeth.
It was well written. It was, except for the costuming and the Klingon. I'll give you that. But I honestly didn't really notice it that much because the story was so intense. And so I did not notice, and I'm sure there was other things I didn't notice, but I mean, that story was just like, wow.
I didn't want to say it ripped my heart out, but when that officer, after the conversation that he had with Mbenga,
oh yeah,
yeah, he chooses to go to the front line, and I felt like Mbenga, like, dude, please, no, it was drugs, it was a medication, but the whole thing at the very beginning, from the first scene in Act 1, incoming transport. Oh my God, that is going to be with me for a while. That made it real. I felt the paranoia, or not the paranoia, but the fear when the guy was lying prostrate. I'm sorry?
The pressure and the...
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, and when he was prostrate there, and dude, you got to move him, and they move him, and he gets moved aside twice. Alvarado does. He gets taken off, and he gets put in the buffer, and then he gets taken off again. Oh my God, how sad! But incoming transport. It was unreal, gentlemen. I think this episode is an A. I give it an A. I can quibble. I agree with all of you. Oh, and Greg, what I was agreeing on was nobody lied. You're right. Nobody lied. They just didn't. Yeah, they just didn't reveal everything. Yeah. So, okay, I give it an A. Richard.
What?
What's your score on this?
I am giving this a B.
Okay.
Because I don't like the fact that these symptoms of PTSD were not addressed beforehand and will not be addressed after.
Oh.
I mean, there should have been anything can set off a PTSD episode, not just seeing the Klingon dude, but any sound, a smell, or just going off into your own brain, having a flashback. And
it's not just wartime either.
And it's not just wartime either. That's what I'm saying. I mean, it could be anything that could do an episode. And while I give it kudos for addressing it, it's just that it's not something that can be taken care of in one episode. I'm sorry. I know people that I'm not going to go into whatever. I'm not going to go into that right now. But I'm just saying that it would have been nice. Now, if they address this in the future, well, then maybe I'll come back and raise the grade. But right now, I just think it's one and done. and it would have been nice to have some kind of foreshadowing. Just like we didn't have any foreshadowing in season 5 of Deep Space Nine with Bashir. All of a sudden, he's genetically enhanced.
Oh yeah.
Okay, all of a sudden, oh yeah, but the actor's like he threw a fit as far as I understood because he thought this should have been addressed from the get go. But anyway, that's two different things. I'm just saying that I'm going to give it a B because I just feel that it would have been nice to see some kind of foreshadowing from the get go. And like I said, if there's anything going forward, well, then I'll come back and change my grade. But right now, I'm going to give it a B. And it's getting a B because of the Clint Howard appearance too.
All right, Aaron.
I think, like Roger, I'm giving it an A. I think it was a great episode. I really liked the courtroom episode. I think it was episode 2, so I think that this sort of falls underneath that. I think it does what Star Trek does best, and that presents an issue in a sort of space context, and then makes you think about it afterwards. This definitely left me having to think about it.
Yes.
It was pretty bold. I loved. I mean, I hated the fact that M'Benga kills him, and it's just sort of like left as he killed him. But that was good because it left me being like, "What the? This needs to continue." Like, yeah, yeah. I thought it was great, and yeah, like Michael said, I needed to go. I ironically watched. I'm not sure if you guys have heard of Allo Allo, which is like a British sitcom that's set during World War II. But that's what I watched after this, so that was bit of war parallels there. But yeah, I just think this was a great episode. This was a good one. Yep.
All right, Greg.
Another thing, I did not have to watch a comedy after this, so no, I didn't have to go anywhere after this. I mean,
oh yeah, I lucked out. I watched the comedy right after it, but we'll get into that in about 2 minutes.
I've been through. Never mind.
Yeah.
It's just that I didn't have to. I mean, I guess I could have, but I just didn't feel the need.
I don't know what I would have done after. That's interesting.
I think
Greg.
I was working, and then we talked about the prior week's episode, so then I was, in a better mood anyway.
See, I had to go straight to bed, and I was like, I can't just leave this lingering in
Yeah.
my brain.
Your thoughts, Greg, and your grade.
Oh,
Four.
I'm gonna say this is an A, not an A plus, only because of a couple little tweaks that I probably would have done differently. They're going all out with the writing and direction. I mean, I've never seen a show this consistent. I mean, I haven't liked all the episodes as they stood, but as far as productions, this show has delivered 9 extremely well-produced episodes in a row. And this one, I think, was, just like they started, got really strong and dramatic at the end of the first season. This was the peak of this season. I mean, I hope the next. Oh, excuse me. I hope the next one is the last one is just as good, if not better. But this was probably their strongest yet. Very deep, very dark. I really, really appreciated, instead of being preachy about the Federation values, that sometimes people do bad things, and if you've witnessed it or can relate to it, you do not want that person to be forgiven. You want that person to suffer the consequences.
Do the ends justify the means? The age-old question. Gentlemen, this score was a 3.433. So it just goes to show you that is above a B plus total score. And it was a good episode all across. So I like it. So for some of us who had to watch the episodes back to back, we got a quick comedy. So I don't know how long it's going to take, boys, but this is the next one. Okay, well, I don't know, Aaron. I know you have to, but here it is. It was a musical. The Subspace Rhapsody. What were your thoughts? Because I don't know if we're going to take a long time on this.
Do you know what? I unfortunately have to go, but what I will say is that I applaud the fact that they tried something different. I liked that it was, they tried to find an in-universe reason. It was about communication. I think the best uh, uh, way to explain this episode was that the reason why people sing in musicals is at a point where everything's emotionally heightened, and so that's why they break out into song. So to me, it made sense that we're seeing these characters finally speak about how they feel in a way that obviously is in song, but they wouldn't usually express the way they feel in general. So to see it expressed or to hear it expressed in song, made sense. But yeah, I mean, look, I on the drive to work today, I actually downloaded the album, which is available. So yeah,
Oh, wow.
that's the impact that it had on me.
Oh, okay. I appreciate that. That's good stuff. All right. Well, Aaron, we know you're the professional one of all of us right now because you've got to do what you need to do. But I thank you for spending the time that you did. And it's always awesome. Hopefully we can have you on for next week as well.
For sure.
So
Can't
we'll
wait.
see. All right.
See
Sounds
you later.
good.
Good
Thank
luck.
you, Aaron.
See you, Aaron.
All right. Ladies and gentlemen, Subspace Rhapsody. This one ran 62 minutes. It was written by Dana Horgan and Bill Wolkoff, which really surprised me. I thought there were going to be quite a few more people that had writing credit on this one, but there were only two, and it was directed by Dermont Downs. Folks, both my daughter and I loved the fact that after the teaser, the intro was a cappella. That was neat. That was cool.
I commented on that as well. I thought that was a charming touch.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I wanted to give this episode a chance. I'm annoyed that they did it, but I wanted to give it a chance, and I wanted to approach it with an open mind and put aside the unconscious bias. But I expected to hate it. I didn't love it, but I didn't hate it.
Well, there were still some key moments that weren't in song between between characters.
That is true.
I mean, what made this more bearable was that it had Captain Kirk on it again, and I'm liking the actor playing Kirk right now. I mean, and plus and now that, so I mean, I like that. Plus, we learned something that's going to affect a Star Trek 3. So I mean, we know that things. We find out stuff about that, which is interesting, knowing that we're going to be decades in the future when we get the full realm of that. But still, it's interesting that people are able to come out and, besides song, just tell how they feel. And I mean, it was an interesting way of doing it, and they made it as scientific as possible to have this break into song and stuff. So it was doable. And plus with Julian Soul just in bed with Kirk for that brief video that
wow, yeah.
I mean, her getting, I mean, it made, I mean, even though it was not a real thing, it was still something that she thought, she thinks about as Kirk, even though she just doesn't know this Kirk. I mean, this is just all going back to the Kirk that she saw in the other timeline, but still, and also it makes sense for Kirk because Kirk has always been a hound dog and wanting to do things that, but anyway, and it would have been more funny if like the Klingons at the very end were actually like a group like the Backstreet Boys or someone back there singing and dancing. That would have been,
It was close.
It was close, man.
close.
That was so bad.
Having the Backdoor Boys, that would have been something, or somebody like that. But still,
Backdoor.
and
That's funny.
and still, but the thing is how much was that auto tune and dubbing too?
Oh, you know what? My daughter caught that when Nurse Chapel was singing. She said, "Man, this sounds like auto tune," and I'm like, I'm
I
deaf.
thought it was dubbing because of how kind of deeper it was too than how she talks. But then I don't know. I mean, but I'm just thinking all of them just can't
some
be
people's
accomplished
singing
singers.
voice is different than their speaking voice, so sometimes you can't tell.
Well,
Okay.
Anson Mounts was
overcoming
different
Australian
too.
accent to sing too. I mean, she had
Exactly.
an
Yeah. So
American accent, and
yeah.
so that's one thing too. But the whole thing was, it was interesting that there was still peril if they didn't fix this right. They could blow up the whole universe. So it was, or most of it anyway. But the whole Federation and then the Klingon Empire. So I thought, and plus they had the race in between for time because the Klingons are coming like, you did this to us, we're coming. And Klingons don't want to sing.
See, that's what annoyed me about this. Is like they had this really good sci-fi premise for everything happening.
Yeah,
Right?
they did.
And it was they're almost the most a sci-fi premise was it talked about and dealt with throughout the course of an episode.
Yeah.
But it's a musical episode.
Yeah. Did you guys think when you first heard of the Klingons? Because my daughter was here with me as we're watching this episode, because she hadn't seen it either, and we're watching it. And when I first heard Klingons in 2 hours, I said, "Oh my God! If the fleet was affected, can you imagine singing Klingons?" And lo and behold,
They should have done operatic style for the Klingons.
oh, Maylor and
What was that?
right, it was right, Maylor and oh my goodness, I can't remember what War says.
Yeah. I didn't really like that poppy, hip hoppy. It didn't fit them.
Look, I didn't like it either.
They should have done
it
opera.
really made them look
But
bad.
the Klingons are just mad because they had to sing.
Yeah.
The dancing was fun though, but I
Yeah,
think
the dancing thing. But I think that's why they're mad because they're not selling. They're not doing
Yes.
stuff. They're doing pop. And they're like, wait a minute, what the hell are we singing about? I mean,
the fact that they built annoyance with the situation into the script
Yes.
actually was what made me stop and enjoy it.
Yes. That's why I was like, singing Klingons. I mean, come on, we're gonna just. But they actually made it work. You know what, folks? We can nitpick when they make mistakes, but there are times because look, they're taking a chance. They're taking a major chance on this to be ridiculed and stuff. They thought this through. They spent a lot of time, and we actually had singing and dancing Klingons, and they made it work. My daughter and I were laughing.
I'm sorry. Go ahead, Roger.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, is there anything in the credits of who wrote the lyrics? I mean, we have the writer, but did she write? But did the writer write the lyrics as well, or was that somebody else? I mean, that's what I'm just saying. That's a lot of something to come up with if you're just a writer in the writing room trying to come up with lyrics. But they kind of made sense.
Yeah, I had heard this, but I was like, oh my goodness, that's who that was. Hemmer was one of the Klingons.
Was he really?
Yeah.
I
think he was the main one.
He looked familiar, but I couldn't
tell us
clue in
for
on
sure, or was he just in the background? I think he was the main Klingon, and then he started in song.
Hemmer, the engineer
who died in season 1.
That is funny. Oh, I have it in the background. I'm gonna be able to check that out.
He was at a con, and I didn't recognize him out of makeup. I mean, he walked right by me at one point, and somebody said, "Oh, that was Bruce. That was Emmer going for the portraits." And I'm like, "Oh, I never would have known."
I actually saw at Comic-Con of Jay or Bob and is it Jay and Silent Bob? I saw Silent Bob. He walked by us fast, and that guy's lost a lot of weight. That's crazy.
Well, didn't you recognize him wearing a hockey jersey?
No, he was a bit more well dressed this time.
Oh, usually he's wearing a hockey jersey. That's how you can.
Right.
He's still got his comic book shop in Jersey somewhere too.
Oh, that's funny. I did not know. Whoops, sorry. Did not know that. Folks, a lot of stuff happened in this episode, and I'm going to leave it to, oh, yes, Maine, he was. Okay.
Yeah, I thought so.
I like that. I'm
Thanks
gonna
for
go back to
checking
that.
that, Elizabeth.
Yeah, guys, I was unhappy with the whole idea of the musical because remember they've joked about this under the Berman era that they were like, well, we're trying to come up with a musical and stuff. I don't know if it's just an annoyance to annoy the fans at the time. They're like, yeah, we're trying to come up with a musical. So it's been a running joke from the late '90s that Star Trek wanted to do a musical, but they never could come up with one. Well, now they finally delivered. I don't know about you. I love what Aaron, or I appreciate what Aaron said earlier, that the whole idea that the emotion was the song. And it was rather creative. And what you gentlemen said earlier about them, it was science fiction. They stuck to it. It was well done. I think this was. I don't like musicals. It's not me disliking the Star Trek musical. It's just I don't have time for musicals. So, but this episode was far from a failure. There was a lot here. We learned. I have to tell you that when Kirk was shocked that Lon had feelings for him. Did you get that? And he was like, oh, he had no idea. He did not.
Number one.
I thought he said that he felt there was a connection there.
Well, he did later. Yeah, he said he felt that there was a connection between them. But...
Okay, right. He said later, yeah. But
she keeps calling him Jim, and it keeps catching him off guard. Jim. I mean, he's to me, he does. From Kirk's point of view, she doesn't know him well enough to call him Jim.
But she does.
But she does, but she doesn't know that.
Right. Now, what did unnerve me was when he's saying, I'm, and I knew who the relationship was with Carol. But when he said she's pregnant, I was like, nuh-uh, Kirk never knew that.
Yeah, he did. He did.
And I was like, oh, that was a violation of the rules right there.
No, he did know, Roger. He did know. If you go back
Star
to the
Trek
movie,
2?
Yes, because he goes, "That's David," or something like that. No, he did.
I thought he said,
if I remember correctly, he did.
Yeah, he knew.
Okay. All right. Oh. All right. Well, wow. This is going to be the first time that I'm on the wrong side of Star Trek history.
Well, yeah, that's what I meant. Star Trek 2 or
not
Star
the
Trek.
first time.
I said Star Trek 3, but yeah, Star Trek 2. I mean, he did know, and it was, but I guess, it's interesting because as far as we know the future where he's not really going to see his son much after he becomes captain of the Enterprise, at least. So, well, I mean, we don't know anything about this in TOS. Nobody knows this in TOS time, but still, it's interesting how this relationship, well, like he says, it comes and goes, but we know it's going to go for a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
Later on in the episode, I thought Kirk said that we had a connection. Because remember, they got hot and heavy on what she was talking about. Because he says, oh, wait. I think you're about to violate a major rule here. That was funny. That was cool.
No, he says, I'm all about not following the rules, but I think you're going to break a major one.
Right. Oh, that was good. I didn't get that. I like that. And he says, well, I think that's when he says, you know what? I think, yeah, there's something there. But I don't think he saw her that way that she saw him. And she was crushed. Because it's funny that the only one that knows this is number one. She's the only one that knows.
She caught on to it. And it's interesting that, but you got to remember, she's so far ahead in this relationship than Kirk or anyone. She's already gone through everything. And Kirk's like, he just met her, right? She talked to him, a few episodes ago about his brother Sam, and then they've seen each other. So, she's way ahead of him. She's like, you know what I mean? She's way ahead.
She even said goodbye to him because he died on her. So,
yeah.
Yeah, actually, Richard, you're right on that one. I laughed because the acknowledgement, like, oh, yeah, Actually, she's lived a life already with him, basically.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
It
now,
was.
will the time cops come after her now that she's been blabbing her mouth about the time world? I mean, is this something that we might see in the future where she talks about the time travel and she wasn't supposed to?
I don't think they are, because she skirts the edge. Did she reveal that there was time travel involved? I
Yes,
think she did.
I think
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, she did, because that's how she said, that's how I know you, because we did something in another timeline and
And different timelines, she said.
in a different timeline.
Yeah.
And she still has that watch from that different timeline too. She does
That's
have a
right,
memento.
she did.
She does
Yeah.
have a memento. So I mean, she did bring. That's why I'm asking. Will this be a future thing in season 3? Where
It might be.
I'm just saying she wasn't supposed to open her big fat mouth, but I think 2 people now know about it.
Oh my God! Did you see when she sang? Wow. She's like, wow. But anyway, sorry.
Well, yeah. I mean, the whole thing. It's just that, like a lot of, even though it was a musical, there was a lot of unpacking in this episode.
Yes, there was indeed, and a lot of the music hit the right notes. No pun intended. I'm sorry, or pun intended, however you want. But there was more to this episode than just the face value that it's a musical. I was not for this. I didn't want to see this. I was not interested, but I knew we were going to be talking about it, and I was really excited about that. Yes, Greg, thank you. I most wholeheartedly agree about that comment. Not trying to be rude. I was just impressed at her pipes. When Kirk sang, it was real. When Spock sang, it was real. Even Pike, everyone. And folks, I don't know about you, but Neota, we've already known that she can sing, but does that woman have a voice or what? Wow. We know Nichelle Nichols was able to sing. It was her profession. But,
Well, yeah.
yeah,
And what's interesting is that toward the end there, we also get the first thing of her humming, because we know that Uhura like to hum. So this is like a precursor to that.
Yes. This episode was an entertaining episode. There was a lot that we learned. Not everyone had a singing moment, but it was quite a bit. Even Pike, I think, did the best Kirk impression of singing, because you've all seen Kirk sing or William Shatner sing. That's funny.
I thought I was going to bring that up when Shatner singing one of his songs off of his album, which was really interesting back in the day. But yeah, he has sung. Not saying he was good at it, but he did try it. But anyway, I thought it was funny that also the part where Pike and the captain of the other ship have sing about their troubles to everybody.
Yeah, that was funny. She was angry. She was mad. All good, Greg?
All good.
Elizabeth says the best and worst part about this show was when Chapel broke Spock's heart. This explains so much about the Spock we know. Yeah, I appreciate that, Elizabeth. That's a good comment. Michael, you've been a bit quiet on the musical right now. Folks, first of all, I want to tell you that Michael and I, over the last week and a half, we were ambushed by the Star Trek change. So we spent some time thinking about how we were going to do this. And then we said, oh, we'll just do 8 and 9 together because it's going to be a musical anyway. Right, brother?
Yeah, but I will say I was pleasantly surprised. And, like what Aaron said and Greg said, they made it believable. I have seen so many musicals from other series that there's no rhyme or reason why everybody's singing. But in this, I think they really tried to justify the singing. And I appreciated that. And I did like some of the songs. I mean, I didn't even know it was available to download. And now I'm thinking, Aaron may have got me going. I might think about it.
Yeah, I don't think I'm going to do that.
Well, you don't like music, period, Roger. So, that's that.
A couple of them were good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Uhura solo, Lawn solo were good, but like many musicals, not every song is going to be a hit because you have to get the story out as part of the lyric.
Yeah, it was really good in that sense.
Not only to make them sing, they also had great choreography too. I mean, they were able to dance too. I don't know where that came from, but you know, they were able to pull that off.
Well, what I heard is a lot of them were in musical theater.
But I'm just saying, besides breaking in the song, it made them dance too. I mean, it wasn't like, you know, it's weird that I can see them singing, but what prompted them to dance around? But I'm not,
because the thing changed their whatever. I mean,
okay, well, whatever. It's just funny, not funny, but I just thought
most people that do theater, you know, or actors and stuff, you know, go through, like in high school, fall was the play, spring was the musical. You know, I was great in the plays, couldn't sing for crap. So I was in one play.
I see what you're saying. They're all, a lot of them probably are trained, you know, but
yeah.
And plus, they probably brought on some other walk-ons just that for the dancing stuff in the hallways and stuff. So yeah.
Yeah, the dance near the end with the kids in the hallway, I think those are probably professional dancers or.
Oh yeah.
I thought it was funny that Spock was the first one to sing too. I thought, okay, he's the first one that we're going to hear sing, and after this, he's probably going to want to take the first shuttle back to Vulcan to get his mind straight.
I hope they don't drag that out.
I don't think.
I really don't.
No, I'm just kidding. I mean, here's a Vulcan singing too. I mean, you know, I'm just saying.
Sorry, you got an emergency in town.
Yeah, I thought I was watching Emergency 51 in the background, or Squad 51. Yeah, that's funny. No, it was called Emergency, if I remember correctly. But
well, God forbid I turn it down. Oh, turn down my scanner.
I think it was Emergency 51. That wasn't the Car 54. Car 54, where are you? So, yeah.
Car 54, where are you?
Yeah, but anyway.
It was good. It was nice to see Pelia get in on one or two of them as well. It was cool. I get it, Greg. I noticed that you've commented over these last few episodes when Pelia has a chance to get in there. I was expecting to see more of her, but I'm all right with what we've seen of Pelia. I would like to see more, though. I really am liking this character. For those of you that know and don't know, Michael knows this. And Greg, I don't think you know. I think Richard does. That my favorite character from Discovery... Oh, hey, Greg. Who would you think my favorite character from Discovery is? Just out of curiosity. I know. They do have a large cast.
From Discovery?
Yeah. She happens to be an engineer as well. What's
Tilly.
that? No. My favorite is that engineer.
Oh, Jet Reno.
Yes, from the Hiawatha. Remember where they first meet her and she says, "Oh, great. I thought we were just going to die." Her deadpan humor, man.
She was great.
That is my favorite character. And
I was skeptical because she's a comedian, but she did such a great job.
She's great.
Well, all comedians can pull that crap off. I mean, when it comes to dramas, comedians are probably the best ones that can pull that off, and there's a reason behind that I'm not going to go into because.
Well, also her character fit her so well. It was like, we want Jet Reno, and we're going to write this character just for her.
Yeah, and folks, and the only reason why I brought that up is because she's another engineer, and everyone that knows me in my personal life knows the love I have for engineers. But, you know, I'm talking about these engineers. Pelia, wow. She had a few things to do in this episode, and I did appreciate it. It was really, really good. When M'Benga sang at the very end, that man does not have a singing voice. So if you notice, he only had that one at the very end, and he did well. Reminds me of the time in my senior play, I have no singing voice. My senior class did Joseph and the Technicolor Dreamcoat. I was the butler. And I have no singing voice. And I'm tone deaf. so I didn't know I could not hear my musical cue. So when I'm on stage, I had to look down. Sean Strong was playing the piano, and he would signal me when to start because I am. Ugh. So I would never have been in this episode. Never could have made it. Not even as a dancer. So, but I'm dominating this. Michael, some of your thoughts. We're all over the place on this episode. So
No, I think I've said everything. You know, the only I'm trying to think, was there something else that I was remembering?
While you're remembering that, the conversation between Kirk and Lon was good, though. I did appreciate it. I actually, in this one, was genuinely disappointed. I felt bad for Lon. But, you know, at the very end, she said, I've learned, though. I've learned not, don't stay silent. So there was some growth for Lon on that one. Was there anything else, Michael?
No, no.
I so rudely interrupted.
It was last episode I was thinking of.
Okay. Greg, Richard?
I keep thinking that maybe this episode was made so that if in the future people binge watch it, once you go from last episode to this episode, a kind of comic relief. Because that seems to be things that happen in network television as well. You'll have this very serious episode, and then next episode's like some kind of comic relief. So, I mean, we're not binge watching it, but maybe in the future they're thinking, okay, when it's been binge watched, then people can watch this and then have a break because they're binge watching it, and then we'll get to the finale of season 2,
which is probably going to be very tense, also.
Right.
Like.
Okay, so then, strategically speaking, gentlemen, you're implying that we got a heavy episode, then they deliberately went light to take us away so they don't keep it all heavy, and then they're going to hit us with another heavy episode? Huh. Okay, that's
well. We've seen the previews, and you haven't yet, Roger.
I'm not saying it's a fact, but I'm just thinking, well, we're not binge watching it, but still, even with weekly episodes, they do this. For some reason, we don't get over an episode in a week. We have to have this comic relief because we still remember what happened last Thursday. But I'm just saying, if people are binge watching it and they're going through this serious subject of, last of episode 8, that they will have a break. I'm not saying that's the reason, but I'm just saying that it could make sense, or maybe I'm just once again talking out my ass.
No, not at all. And Rich, I wouldn't even say that either.
What that smell is?
Oh, fair enough. I remember the Best of Both Worlds, part 1 and 2. What did we have right after that? We had a serious episode, which was, it was a perfect episode. We had Best of Both Worlds, dramatic, end of world, end of life, everything. You had phasers, you had battles, and then you go to the other episode, which was a very heartwarming, but also another serious episode.
It was a human, personal.
Yes.
Greg skips over type episode.
I want to back up even a little bit before that. In the 3rd season of The Next Generation, you had Yesterday's Enterprise. And then the episode right after, correct me if I'm wrong, it was The Offspring, right? See, I think that's the tone that they should have done with this one. And let me just get this thinking across, because then I may be talking out of my behind as well. You have episode 8. It, again, I give it a solid A. There were tiny issues which didn't, but it's almost disrespectful to me that you have this heavy episode and then you do this. It's almost like a comedy. Okay. It's like you told a phenomenal story and then you did this. I'm not trying to be 100% negative, which I guess I am. It's just, I think it's almost disrespectful to what happened. But then if you're good storytellers, you're supposed to change it up. Right, Michael?
Yeah, but there's precedent for it, having a heavy and light. I mean, there's not.
Yeah.
And, it's not like it came out of nowhere. And it's not is it really a comedy because they're singing? Because there are repercussions.
I don't consider it a comedy at all.
It was light, but it wasn't necessarily a comedy.
Yeah, because there's repercussions if they don't fix this, because it can blow up the Federation. Yeah. Now the Klingon Empire. I mean, they sang, but it wasn't like they were doing Weird Al songs.
I wouldn't have called it I wouldn't have called it goofy.
No, I mean, it was
silly, but I mean, it wasn't like Spock's engagement dinner goofy.
Oh yeah, right, yeah, and that's fair, and I'm probably choosing that word incorrectly, but I have to tell you, I was pleasantly surprised. I was not looking forward to this. I was worried. I was like, okay, well, but Strange New Worlds, folks. Other than that dumb comment that we had in the chat room that I did not put on screen, I don't know what they're watching. We're talking Strange New Worlds. They're doing good stuff. Episode 7, wow. Episode 8, if you look at it that way, yeah, I guess we did need episode 9. It's just, for me, the way I get things. I'm not gonna repeat that again. I enjoyed it, and I'm not a musical fan, so I was all right with it. We did learn quite a bit. The relationship between Pike and Maria took a guarded step forward, because now she knows. She goes, "You should have told me about your reservations," but now that's out in the open. It was funny who walked across the bridge to shut the communication off. Was it number 1 or who? Or was it Chief of Security? Who walked across to protect Kirk's honor? I'm sorry, not Kirk, Pike.
I don't remember. I only saw this one once.
Yeah, well, me too. Who was it that walked across?
I don't remember. But it sounds like something number 1 would do.
You know what? It might have been La'an.
It was probably La'an, or it was number 1, but I don't know who.
Yeah, I think it might have been La'an. That's funny. Because
I think I was too busy rolling my eyes to notice that one. I don't know. I was having a hard time telling if the Anson Mount was just going along with it, or
okay.
I don't know. Of all the characters, he seemed to be the most reluctant to sing, and then he's got that scene.
Yeah. What did you think of their performances, gentlemen? Because I thought, other than the auto-tune of Nurse Chapel, I thought she danced well. It was good. I thought they all performed, because you guys, we commented about the dancing. When they were doing the musicals, I don't think they were doing anything that was really overly done until the grand finale, where you had them dance, musical stuff. It was good. You can see them in 10 forward or their bar, whatever it is, and they're dancing to the music, to the musical, and that was it. It wasn't a big deal. But I gotta admit that when they said, "Oh, this is it, we got to get to 4:33 or whatever it is," I understand that's a musical setting. I don't know, or it's the most songs you can hold on your iPhone. I don't know what 4:33 means, but that's what they had to get to. But I was looking forward to the grand finale. I got it. It was, and folks, again, I'm sorry. I thought they handled it as best they could with those singing Klingons. I'm all right with it. I am. I'm all right with it. Oh. Greg, you're like.
It should have been opera. Klingon opera.
Yeah, that's fair. It should have been.
But they weren't so offended by Klingon opera either, though, Greg. I mean, they had to have a reason to be pissed. Like, I'm singing pop songs. You need to go kill some Federation people.
Yeah. I
understand what you're saying, Greg.
Yeah.
But their culture wouldn't know what a pop song is.
Right. But I guess
unless they assimilated a Zune when they were attacking during the war.
I know what you're saying, but then what would this crew know about singing Broadway songs either? I mean, it's really... Anyway, it's neither here nor
Oh.
there. We're done with it. We can move on.
We can move on.
Yeah, Michael and I, when we had a conversation, we were like, we're going to spend all the time on episode 8, and I think we're going to say yay or nay on episode 9. So, do you guys have some more thoughts on this episode?
No,
Yeah,
I
that's
think we
about it.
covered the
I'm
gist.
glad Croc is over with, or whatever they were calling it, Spackle or Smockle. I'm glad
Oh,
that's over with, because this is what I've been saying all along. Christine's got to meet her fiance. She got accepted to a fellowship with a Dr. Corby.
yeah, Dr. Roger Corby.
Oh, yeah.
So I
Well,
don't know if we're gonna get to meet Roger.
That's another important scene in this episode.
Yeah.
Is she going to actually leave the show then?
Oh, probably
Well,
after episode 10. Yeah,
Unless they do.
it's
I
only
mean, unless
it's
they
only
do,
3 months. It's only 3 months.
Yeah,
3
they
months.
had they had a significant amount of time between the last episode of season 1 and the first episode of season 2.
Yeah, they did.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
I see. So she can come back, and then everything would be almost okay. I see what you're saying. We come back from the so-called summer break.
Yeah.
I was hoping, because they were calling it a quantum probability field, I was hoping for more variety.
I think it had to do with the song, the whole album that she uploaded to the thing. She did one song, and I don't know if it was the other songs too went up there, because who knows what that thing was doing.
Yeah, because think about it.
Anything goes from the 50s.
Yeah.
Or 40s.
Wait a minute. Anything goes? I thought that was a little bit further back. Like maybe even 20s, 30s, or 40s.
Oh, yeah, it would have had to have been because it was in one of the Indiana Jones movies.
Yeah. Oh, I was going to say it was probably in 1941, the Steven Spielberg movie, but what do I know? So it's all good. Folks, I thought it was entertaining. I thought they did a good job moving the story forward. It was appropriate when it was done. I'm not a fan of musicals, but I credit them. I thank them. It's done. No more musicals. We're good. They're done. And it was all right. So I rate this episode. Unfortunately, Elizabeth, I know she's not going to agree with me. Big wow. Or, what a shock. But I'm going to get... There it is. Elizabeth gave it a B. All right. Richard, what are you going to give it?
I'm going to give it B2 since Captain Kirk was in it.
You know what?
I don't know where he beams from when he comes aboard the Enterprise, but he always shows up somehow on the transporter.
Yeah. All right. That's funny. Michael.
B.
You rat bastards.
Forgive
me. I'm sorry.
I'm
sorry. Forgive me.
Yeah, we have to mute you now.
Yeah, I know. It was B. I'm so sorry. All right. Greg.
I'm going to give this one a C+.
Oh, that's what I was going with. Yes.
Greg had to break ranks.
Yeah.
10 episodes, and they choose to do this. Just like they choose to do the engagement dinner.
Yeah. Wow. That's funny, Greg, because...
if you had 26 episodes in the season, I'd forgive them.
Yeah. All right. That is cool. Fair enough. I don't know if my co-hosts have anything else to talk about, but I do want to, again, remind the audience, please head on over. You see it down at the bottom, ndbmedia.net, to stay tuned for a bunch of stuff. We are teasing several major announcements over the next few weeks. We may not actually make the announcements. You're just going to end up seeing the results. But we got an incredible amount of news today. And what does it mean? It translates for everyone here, not only the hosts, but for our audience. Our good news, it portends a lot for this channel. We knew there was an opportunity, and we are eternally grateful. And we are so looking forward to what this opportunity we're going to be given us very soon. but we're really excited. The hard work is right there. That man right there. So right there. His name is Michael. So I thank him publicly, and we'll be doing it personally as well. But I do want to thank them. Again, this Saturday, Sports Talk with the Guys, home of the Monday Morning Quarterbacks on Saturday. On Sunday, that's at 6 a.m. Pacific time, at 3 p.m. Pacific time. Better Call Saul rewatch is on at 3 p.m. Pacific time. And we have Monday Night in America. We already have a guest, right, Michael?
Yeah, Frank Parker.
Okay. Yeah, that's right. I'm so sorry. Frank Parker. That's right. And we're going to have two guests. And then on Thursday, we'll be doing the last episode of Strange New Worlds. But when Ahsoka debuts, that's going to continue on Thursday night. And Lower Decks is going to be on Saturday
night.
Yes. And we're sorry for the time change. But when we did our Sunday night episode of 4 programs, we learned our lesson. The episodes take forever. That's one. And 2, it was way too much material and way too ambitious to do the type of analysis that we do. So we're going to be doing particular episodes. I would like everyone, whoever is watching Futurama, please contact me because I'd like to know what you think about Futurama, because I haven't done an episode of Futurama, and I wonder if that tells you something. So I would love to hear your opinions on it. Okay. Any announcements, Michael? We already did the guests. We already have that.
No, you did the announcements. So
Richard, do you have any announcements?
Nope, you just went over Better Call Saul for me, buddy.
All right, Greg, do you have anything?
This weekend in North Branford, Connecticut, is the Potato and Corn Festival.
Are you going?
No.
That's
Sorry,
fun.
you guys always have these cool announcements, and that's the best I can come up with.
Hey, that worked. That worked.
Yours sounds fun too, Greg.
I do want to say that I just found out on a personal note, Marsha Middleton. Our thoughts are with you, Marsha. I know you're not watching this episode right now, but I understand that your sister's not doing well, and I'm sorry I just found out today. So I hope everything is going well in the universe, Marsha. I'm going to be reaching out to her a little bit later. But for those of you that know her on the Facebook site, I think you guys have already known what's going on. Her sister is not well right now. So hopefully, and I met her sister on Saturday in San Diego. So 2 weeks ago. So,
Wow.
Yeah, we'll see. Hopefully,
I thought that with them, though.
Yes. And no, hey, it's like I said, I should have been paying attention. I've been in a drug-induced haze for all this stupid medication that I'm on. So, all right, folks, I guess that'll be it. And if you guys want to hold on a little bit after when we end the program, I want to mention something to my co-hosts, and we're good. Other than that, do you guys have anything else? All right.
Just hit the like and subscribe button, and don't forget the notification bell.
And there it is. Bam. Really good stuff. All right, folks, this will be it. I'm glad we've done this. I thank Michael. I thank Greg. I thank Richard. This has been a lot of fun, guys. This has been, and Elizabeth, you too. You've not missed an episode. Thank you, Elizabeth. It means a great deal. And folks, we know you're watching also because we see the numbers that you're watching this after the fact. And even though we don't mention you by name, let us know, give us a like, put a comment, and then we can mention you next week. So it means a great deal. We're just stunned. We are grateful, utterly grateful at the growth in the audience. And we never thought we'd do anything like this. And this is incredible. We thank you, and we'll see you guys on the other side. Peace.